So good morning and welcome everybody to the Cape Cod Technology Council's first Friday. Nice to see everybody here today. It's a bright sunny day out and with our speakers, Eric LePage and Tim Wenson. It looks like it's a bright sunny day where they are too at Bridgewater State University. So welcome, gentlemen. I'm Bert Jackson, CEO of the Cape Cod Technology Council, and so welcome everybody today. I'd like to thank Open Cape, who is our First Friday series sponsor. We appreciate the work that they're doing to bring ubiquitous broadband, fully fiber broadband to our region. Looking forward to things unfolding there. And also thank you Cape and Plymouth Business Media, who has been a real help to us in getting the word out about about what's happening here at the Cape Cod Technology Council, promoting our events and helping to tell our story to a larger audience. And so what we've been offering as a feature is every time we do an event, Dale from Cape and Plymouth Business gives you a marketing tip, so some information you can use to go back out and get some more mileage out of the digital media that you're using. So Dale, what have you got for us today?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Bert. Thanks. I wish I had a nice deep voice like you. It's something I'm working on, but I'm just not there yet. It is early though, so I'm a little raspy. Digital marketing tip for today. We had a recent article in our monthly edition about your email signature. So you may have seen this before, but we thought it was important enough to bring up again. Through Gmail or Outlook or even some of the help desk softwares, you can craft a really easy signature that gives you more of a connection with the person you're communicating with, such as posting a photo, maybe a little headshot. It doesn't have to be giant. It could be like a business, something really small that you might see on a business card. You can promote events. You could put links to your website, your social media. And then also, recently I came across someone who put a link to their Google profile and had said something about asking for reviews, which I thought was really clever. So you can use that to your advantage and to also, make it feel, email can be really cold. So you can use that to make it a little bit more of a personal feeling. That's my tip.
Great idea.
Thank you so much, Dale. Great idea. And just some housekeeping as we get started here. I'm just pinning you guys up here. As we get started, I'd ask that everybody, go on mute unless you're speaking. But also, if you could turn your cameras off. We found that, as recording, it saves the bandwidth if the cameras are off for everybody but the presenters. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Reed, President of the Board of Directors of the Cape Cod Technology Council, and also from Bridgewater State University, the Cape Cod campus. And she's got many titles at Bridgewater. She'll tell you about that. And so please welcome Jennifer Reed. Jen?
Thank you so much, Bert. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here today. I am Jennifer Reed. I am the Director of Professional, Corporate, and Community Education for Bridgewater State University. I'm also the Director of BSU Cape Cod, which is our campus located in South Yarmouth, Massachusetts. And I'm really excited to be here today and to have two of my colleagues as the presenters. To say that technology is an integral part of of what we do at Bridgewater would be quite an understatement, obviously due to the pandemic. And when the pandemic started, every day I thought deeply about the work that Eric LePage and Tim Wenson do, and was, concerned about them. I thought, how are they getting this done? And so today we'll hear a little bit of a reflection on the technology that they have implemented and that our faculty and our students use. I also want to say that there's so many cool, great things that we're doing as an institution. One I'm throwing in the chat here is that, did you know that we have robots? We have actual robots on our campus that deliver food, which is super cool and fun. It's been featured on the local news media quite a bit. So if you have a moment to check that out, we have this really great new technology. And so if you have a chance to visit our campus, you might see the robots whizzing by, going all over the place. I saw one yesterday when I was there. So no further ado, I'd like to introduce two of my colleagues. We have Eric LePage, who's the Executive Director of the Teaching and Technology Center, and also Tim Wenson, who's the Academic Technology Specialist for the Teaching and Technology Center. Eric and Tim, you have the floor.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. And I want to thank Robin and Bert as well for inviting us, hosting us today. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be chatting with you. We're going to be talking a bit today about how we supported through my office the pandemic shift to a fully online teaching institution. So Tim's going to share a slideshow.
I just have to lose the, there we go.
Good. Awesome. So my name is Eric LePage. I'm the Executive Director of the Teaching and Technology Center at Bridgewater State. I've been here for 22 years now, which is amazing because I'm only 30 years old. So I don't know how I pulled that off. I've been teaching part-time at Bridgewater State since 2006 as well. So I've just really enjoying my time at Bridgewater. And joining me here is Tim. Tim, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tim Wenson. I've been Bridgewater about 15 years. Started out as a student and just, basically never left. Been with Eric's office, the TTC, the whole time. And I've actually been teaching for about, I think, 13 years in the management department and now in the graduate school as well. Doing all kinds of stuff. So, teaching fully face-to-face, online, hybrid. That's about it for me.
Cool. All right, why don't you hit the next slide? It's already going to be a little interactive here. So it's not showing the link there. So we have a polling question for you folks. And what I'll do is, let's see here. I think I'm going to put the link in the chat. So I've got a web address for you folks to go out to. There we go. And it's using a product that we have at Bridgewater State called Poll Everywhere. So if you go to pollev.com/elepage, and you can do this on your mobile device, or you can do this in a separate browser window on your computer. But the question we're posing to you is, during this whole pandemic, like what has been your biggest work-related challenge? And if you're retired, share what your biggest other challenges have been during the pandemic. I mean, whatever you want to share. But the responses should start to show up as you type your responses in this box here. And if you run into technical problems, don't worry about it. If you want to share your response in the chat, you can do that too.
And I just added it to the screen. Hopefully people can see it if you didn't see it in the chat. So it's pollev.com/elepage.
We'll give folks a chance there to add their responses. We have had many work-related challenges that we're going to be talking about this morning. Many technology-based, many just given the entire shift to online, this is what we had to deal with, and that's what we'll be talking about this morning. All right, let's see here. I'm just going to make sure that this is operating as intended on my side. All right, kind of interesting, Tim. I am seeing all the responses come up. I'll just start talking about it. So I can see here, folks have written, missing the in-person social connections with the teams you work with. Absolutely, that's been a challenge. Disconnect between coworkers. That's certainly been a big challenge, trying to operate through Zoom, through Microsoft Teams, and not being able to just walk across the hall and talk with a coworker. Missing in-person huddling with the team, keeping up those social coworker interactions. I mean, we found ways to do that through Zoom. Certainly not the same as connecting in person, though. Staying focused, oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that Tim can certainly speak to is a lot of our folks are trying to, get their kids to, take part in their own Zoom classes remotely, and meanwhile do their job. That's been a huge challenge for folks. Yeah, feeling isolated. Absolutely. These are terrific. So sorry they're not showing up on the PowerPoint there, but thank you for all those responses. All right, Tim, why don't you head to the next slide? So who are we? Who's the Teaching and Technology Center? Well, my office, we essentially provide training and support services to faculty. So we're supporting faculty in their use of technology, either to enhance teaching and learning in their classrooms or through their online courses. Now, prior to the pandemic, my office was working on some really cool stuff. We have what's called a Matterport 3D camera, and we were creating really cool 360-degree simulations. We were working specifically at the time with a criminal justice professor who was basically creating a 360-degree crime scene, and it was all interactive and stuff, really cool. We were doing virtual reality demonstrations in classes, like with astronomy classes and art history classes. Lots of fun stuff, really innovative. And then COVID hit. Go ahead, Tim. Yeah. That first month. So let's go back in time to, late February, early March of 2020. So our institution, like many other institutions, realized what was happening and said, okay, we need to go online for some undetermined future. And so we immediately extended our spring break period, which was typically 1 week, became 2 weeks, because we wanted to allow time for faculty to be able to transition to teaching a fully online course, which is crazy because if you've ever taught a fully online course before, I mean, it takes months of preparation to teach a quality online course. Now, for those folks, those faculty at Bridgewater State who are already teaching online courses, I'll say that it was a relatively smooth transition, and that accounted for, we've got about 2,600 for-credit courses occurring. So about 20% of those courses had an online presence. So not too bad for those folks. Then we had a lot of faculty who were using our Blackboard learning management system. Now, if you're not familiar with Blackboard, basically what it is it's course site space. It's an online course site space where faculty can do things like post handouts for students. They can, like Word documents, PowerPoint slideshows. They can create exams for students. They can host a grade book. They can conduct online discussions, all sorts of stuff. So for those faculty who were extensive users of Blackboard, also not a really terrible, transition. But for the majority of our folks, they had a lot of work to do. And right away, my office was inundated with phone calls, with emails. I mean, it was just a massive, massive undertaking. All right, Tim, you can hit the next slide.
I think I gave it away already.
The teaser. So fortunately, our Dean of Continuing Studies, and I know, Jen, a number of folks work for Continuing Studies who are on this call today. Our Dean of Continuing Studies, his name's Dave Crane. And he recognized right away that we were going to need some help to support all of these faculty in this transition. So he basically offered Brendan Harvey and Shannon Talker from his team to partner with our team. And Brendan, he's a multimedia designer within continuing studies. Shannon, who I think had just started her position in continuing studies like a week or 2 weeks earlier. Her position was supposed to be focused on online student support. And basically it was just, all right, let's learn the Blackboard learning management system and go. But fast forward a year later, they're still partnering with our team, and they've become an instrumental part of our team during this pandemic period. All right, Tim, you can hit the next one. So I want to show you this graph here. And there's a lot to look at in this graph, so I'm going to walk you through this. So this is a graph that basically demonstrates the increased workload that we've dealt with. So on the left there, Tim, you probably can't use or maybe you can use the, I think there's an annotate. Yeah, there we go, the mouse. So Tim, why don't you point at February of 2020 where you see the number 101. So basically what that's demonstrating is back in February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit, we had roughly 101 support tickets that month. So we have we call it a ticketing system called Team Dynamics. And basically every time we get contacted by faculty for like through email, through phone calls, if they walked into our office, we would basically catalog that in our ticketing system as an interaction. My job as manager in the TTC is to assign that work out to each of our staff. So in February of 2020, we had roughly 101 service tickets from faculty, okay? Now, Tim, put your mouse down to where March of 2020 is. 1 month later, pandemic hits, we went all the way up to 448 tickets, which for us was obviously a record. And that really doesn't even tell the full story because we were so hammered with phone calls and emails that we weren't even cataloging it all in our ticketing system. I can remember one particularly busy day. I counted the number of emails that I sent out on that day, and I sent 175 emails, which I'm pretty sure was a personal record for me. I hope to never reach that record again. Just absolutely crazy numbers. And you can see as we go down there, April of 2020, May of 2020, those numbers just kept coming. We were in the 200s. And this is kind of funny to me. So let's look at June at the bottom there, June of 2020, we had 176. Now in the new normal, 176 tickets seemed kind of quiet. But Tim, go up to September of 2020 there where you see 164. September for us is like the holiday season in retail. It's just all hands on deck, nonstop, go, go, go. So I just found it hilarious that looking back at this data, June of 2020, which was quiet, we had 176 tickets, which exceeded in the old normal 164 tickets from September. That's just how things were. And then Tim, on the right there, if you look at that orange graph section for September of 2020, we had 501 tickets. I mean, the numbers were just crazy. So our team has just been going above and beyond to work with our faculty and help them along during this period. So Tim, let's go next slide. So right away, let's go back to that spring break period of 2020. All of our faculty are trying to prepare to teach online now. We started hosting webinars every day. And hosting webinars on how to do things in Blackboard, how to teach online. We were sending emails every day with what we call TTC tips, just giving advice to faculty on how do you get your syllabus into your course? How do you hold a discussion? All of these things. The thing that really struck me during this period was the gratitude that we received from faculty. As stressed out as they were, and they were so patient with us because they knew what we were dealing with in terms of volume. They knew the pressure that we were under. And their patience was just outstanding. I mean, we were getting thank you letters on a daily basis. We couldn't even keep up with them in terms of I usually share those with my vice president. It was just unbelievable. So lots of webinars to help our faculty along. Tim, let's go next slide. The other thing we did right away was in Blackboard, we created what we called the Faculty Resource Center. This was a Blackboard course site, and we put every single faculty member into this course site as a student. And it basically became a location for us to put all sorts of video tutorials, to share online teaching tips. I've got to give a lot of credit to, especially Brendan Harvey from Continuing Studies. He started creating video tutorials every day. And we'd post those video tutorials in this course site for faculty to start learning on their own if they couldn't attend our webinars. We also created a peer faculty discussion forum in this site, and faculty members just started sharing their own, challenges and concerns in this discussion forum. A lot of discussion activity took place, kind of helped alleviate some of the stress and pressure that they were feeling. So Tim, let's go next slide. Another thing we did was institute what we called virtual office hours. So Stacy Osborne from our team, she had a great idea. And she said, why don't we, use Zoom to host like a 1 hour period every day where faculty can drop in and basically get live support from us. And it turned out to be a huge benefit because faculty could come into our Zoom virtual office hours room and share their computer screen with us. So that was a huge benefit because now we could look at their computer screen and say, oh, okay, I see the problem that you're having. Why don't you try this? And we'd pull faculty into breakout groups in Zoom so we could work one-on-one with them. But sometimes we would handle issues in the main Zoom room, like the Zoom room we're in right now. And other faculty would just kind of listen in and learn. And it became a great opportunity for them to learn, but also for the folks on my team, especially, Brendan and Shannon from Continuing Studies, who at the time were very new to Blackboard. It became an opportunity for them to learn too. So these office hours have been so successful that we've decided that even when we're back on campus again, we're going to keep offering them every day. All right, next slide, Tim. So another thing we did, we were approaching this from so many different angles. We knew right away that we had some faculty who were going to need considerable hand-holding. We just didn't have the time for it. We would just, spend 5-10 minutes with a faculty member, go on and help the next one. So once again, thanks to Dean Crane from Continuing Studies, he came up with this great idea to start a faculty mentoring program. And so what we did was we identified our top online teaching faculty and said, hey, listen, we're willing to pay you a stipend to basically act as a mentor to other faculty in need who are really struggling. And so we worked with department chairs to identify these faculty. And then my job essentially became, let me align a faculty member in need with an online teaching expert. And that program was so successful for helping those faculty. We ended up continuing that program into the summer. So that was a huge benefit. All right, Tim, next slide.
I swear I have other shirts also.
I just noticed that. Nice. Oh, that's great, Jen. I have a faculty member who writes me letters on his typewriter and mails them to me. I love this. So student and faculty tech needs. Well, of course, we had faculty and students who had never, taught online, hadn't taken an online class before, and just didn't have the technology to do it. So we ended up providing some faculty in need with laptops, with web cameras. We even did MiFi devices. So that's mobile wireless devices. So those faculty who didn't have internet in their homes, we basically were connecting to their, basically connecting to a phone network, putting these devices in their homes, and they had internet in their homes. So they didn't have to pay for internet connections. And we also, through our Maxwell Library Circulation Desk, which you can see in this picture here, we provided laptops to students in need, Chromebooks, tablet computers, and even a few of those same MiFi devices to students who just couldn't afford to have internet in their homes. All right, Tim, next slide. Now, as you've got to imagine, students who were used to taking online courses, they did well. Students who were suddenly thrust into this online world and now had to deal with all of the stress of COVID, all of the stress of worrying about family members. Maybe they lost their jobs. We know there were students who lost their homes. They couldn't afford to, maintain their apartments. They were taking classes out of their cars. Just really, really terrible situations. So we had students who were in terrific need of help. And so what the administration did was they created what we called a Student Academic Engagement Initiative team. And they would send out emails to faculty every week. So I mentioned that I teach part-time. Well, I would get these emails and I had students who were really struggling and I was doing my best to try and help them along, but they needed more help. And so I would respond to those emails from the Student Academic Engagement Initiative team and say, here, I've got this student who really needs help. They would reach out to the student, maybe align a tutor with that student, whatever they could do to help them along. So I think at the time I had like a third of my students were failing the course. Just really having a hard time. And by the end of the class, I only had one student who completely disappeared and failed the course. Everyone else passed. So really, really grateful to the administration for putting those resources in place. All right, Tim, next slide. So related to that, with much thanks to Shannon Talker, who's on this in the Zoom call, I noticed, we worked with her to create an online student support and success website. And this was a resource for students that had, helpful guidance on taking an online course, how to be successful in an online course, what technology do you need, where do you go for support, all of those different things. My office also worked with our Office of Teaching and Learning on campus to provide webinars to faculty to say, hey, how do you work with these struggling students? Because they were dealing with more struggling students than probably ever before. So we were trying to hit this issue from all sides. All right, Tim, next one. Thanks, Shannon.
So one thing that we, I guess, thought we were in a good position was about a year before the pandemic, we had done a search for a web conferencing tool. And we looked at Zoom, we looked at a couple others, but ultimately we went with Collaborate Ultra, which is Blackboard's web conferencing tool. And I do think it's funny that we've, even you heard Eric do it, we've basically created this like Kleenex or Saran wrap. So we don't even use the word web conference anymore. We just say Zoom. So we said, at the start of the pandemic, hey, we're in good shape. We have this tool. We've been using it for about 6 months, kind of in a pilot program with Collaborate Ultra. But hey, you have it already. It's a site license. You don't have to worry about anything. And then people heard about Zoom and they started using that instead. And but probably about half of our users that had tried it before or were just comfortable in Blackboard, we're using Collaborate Ultra. But as the pandemic went on, everybody started using Zoom, and the big thing everybody liked was, oh, I can see my whole class on here. There was, I think Zoom allowed for maybe 25 or so video streams at once, and Collaborate was actually limited to 4, which before the pandemic we weren't sure that was the killer feature, but as it happened, it definitely played out that way. So in July we ended up having a survey of faculty, and overwhelmingly they chose Zoom. So we've now kind of moved away from using Collaborate Ultra as we transition to Zoom. We wanted to use what people are comfortable with, what people are used to, and ultimately that feature was probably the biggest part of it. But as we use Zoom more, we've kind of gotten used to it, and we're seeing some of the other benefits. But we do still have Collaborate, just so we didn't leave those people that liked it in the lurch. But we've now transitioned full time to using Zoom for our classes.
And I'll just add that if you look at the picture there, the picture on the left is what Collaborate Ultra looks like. So it's just like Tim said, those 4 video screens, and on the right is a demonstration of what Zoom looks like. And you can see the appeal to faculty. Right? If I'm teaching a class and I want to be able to have that interaction with my students, having just 4 students show up on my screen, yeah, that doesn't hold a candle to what Zoom is able to offer. So before we transition to talking a little bit about what would we have to do to get all these faculty ready for the fall semester, we want to ask if you folks have any questions on the spring semester stuff we talked about and trying to get through that period. You can pose any questions in the chat if you'd like.
Eric, I have a question about, obviously the example that I provided in the chat is a, extreme one, but there are certainly faculty members within any institution that are on a spectrum of, technology skills. So what happened with the folks that were, really low in technology skills, like at the beginning of the pandemic? Like, how did they deliver their classes online? Like, I'm imagining that some might have said, just email me your paper kind of thing. Like, is that what happened in some classes?
It absolutely did. I mean, we had faculty who, like I said, didn't even have computers and weren't very much computer users. And I think that's where the online teaching mentors really came into play. And the online teaching mentors, I mean, when I was communicating with them, I was like, let's approach this from the simplest method possible to get people through the semester. So if it was, yeah, just email me your paper, awesome. If that got them to done, terrific. You know, there were other folks who were having phone calls, just to get students by. I would say for the most part, faculty were like, okay, I know how to be in a classroom. I know how to lecture. I'm just going to move to Zoom or Collaborate Ultra and just try to replicate that experience. You know, I'm not going to worry about trying to learn Blackboard. Just get me into Zoom for every class meeting, and that's what I'm going to do. You know, and we would help them set up a camera and just try to do the best they could with that. But yeah, very challenging.
A couple other quick questions in the chat. One is from Bert. He said, how do you scale up your support services?
Yeah. So one of the really challenging things, so we have a help desk on campus, and of course they were inundated with contacts and calls and emails. But one of the challenges was that they ended up losing a lot of their student funding, their student worker funding, and student workers are such a big part of their operation. But we had to have significant budget cuts at the time. So fortunately, we had a number of folks step up from our IT division, so professional staff, who helped out our help desk. So one of the folks is on this call right now, Kathy Flaherty. I mean, Kathy has been a huge help to those folks. So a number of staff really stepped up to help out, and because it was a challenge.
And another question from Rich Riker, who's a board member of the Tech Council. He said, how important was it to have a wired campus?
I mean, it was helpful to a degree, like, because it was really more helpful during the fall, I guess. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Like during the spring, with almost everyone being off campus, it wasn't as helpful because now everyone's just dealing with home internet connectivity issues, right? I mean, that was the big thing. We heard so many stories from faculty and students about, I'm trying to share my video, but I can't. It had to do, of course, with their internet connectivity most of the time. Oh gosh, home tech issues were like the worst thing, one of the worst things we had to deal with during the pandemic. But yeah, having the wired campus definitely helped out more with the fall with our high flex courses, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, I've become very familiar with Comcast and Xfinity and Verizon's help pages, because I send them to the instructors I work with to say, like, these are the steps you have to take these steps. I can't take these steps on your behalf. So I'm sure you do similar things with trying to help people enhance their own connection in their own homes.
Right. Absolutely. Cool. Well, thank you for the questions. I guess we can proceed with the next slide here. So yeah, planning now for the fall. Oh, sorry, go back one, Tim. Yeah. So planning. So we basically, we survived the spring semester. We breathed a very small sigh of relief because we knew that now we had to, basically do all of our planning for the summer and fall semesters. And now we had been in conversations about the summer and fall throughout the spring, so it wasn't anything entirely new, but now we could really focus on it now that we were past the spring. So Tim, you can do the next slide. So each summer at Bridgewater State, we run something called the Online Teaching Institute. Basically what this is, it's a self-paced course in Blackboard. Faculty sign up for it, and they basically have the entire summer to proceed through all of these different modules we have on learning how to teach online. So they learn things like assessment design, syllabus design, building community in their online courses, and lots of other important course design topics. So even though it's self-paced, we still hire 2 faculty members every summer who act as online teaching moderators. Basically what their job is, they go in, and as the faculty are working on their syllabus, working on learning activities for their online courses, these moderators take a look at their work and give them feedback. So our moderators, who are, for those Bridgewater folks on the call, Sue Eliason and Joanne McDonald, tons of online teaching experience. They worked as those moderators, provided all that great feedback. So to give you a sense of the volume, in 2019, when we ran the Institute, we had a record number of participants. We had 80 participants sign up. Now fast forward to summer of 2020, pandemic, we had 238 folks sign up for the Institute. So right away, I was like, oh my gosh, we don't have enough moderators to be able to support this. So we reached out to our director of the Office of Teaching and Learning, Robin Tarosian, who's actually now at Northeastern University, and we brought him into the fold. And basically what my job was, every day I would review all of the incoming work that our faculty participants were doing. And then I would assign the work out to each of our moderators to provide those reviews and feedback. It was quite the undertaking. I mean, we would have weekly Zoom calls, commiserating with each other, just trying to support each other and get through the experience and trying to help these faculty learn how to teach online. And I remember by the end of the summer, we got together outside, safe distance, and had a toast to each other just to celebrate getting through it. But I will say, I mean, so many faculty benefited from the Online Teaching Institute, and their fall semester experience went so much better as a result. Right, Tim, next slide. So in addition to all the online courses we were doing, the administration realized that we still needed to have some on-campus presence during the fall semester. So they identified 160 courses that really, like dance courses, music courses, art courses, lab courses that really needed to have an on-campus presence for the fall semester. So 160 courses. And the administration put a ton of work into ensuring the safety of our students and faculty. Our facilities and operation folks, they established basically safe distancing measures for each classroom. So they would look at the capacity of a classroom and say, okay, based on 6 feet of safe distancing, this classroom can only accommodate six students or 7 students. That was typically the average. So not a lot, right? Also, our facilities folks made a commitment to basically cleaning down the classroom desks after usage. So just trying to ensure safety. So given that many of these classrooms could only accommodate 6 or 7 students, many professors chose to adopt what we call high flex teaching. So high flex is short for flexible hybrid. And basically what it is, it's a form of teaching in which some students are in the physical classroom, other students are joining remotely through Zoom. It's a really challenging teaching approach, but some faculty were willing to give it a try. We ended up having 30 faculty that fall semester who were willing to try high flex. So let's take a look at this picture here. So in this picture, this is in a physics classroom. This picture was taken by physics professor Dr. Thaya Paramanathan. This is a high flex classroom. So in that middle desk there, might be hard to see it, but at the front of that middle desk in the classroom, there is a Logitech Meetup camera. And that camera is focused on the professor who's at the front of the classroom. And he's broadcasting himself through Zoom to all of the students who are remote. Meanwhile, you can see here, if you look at each of these students, they've got a gooseneck stand with a webcam on top of it next to each of them. And it's much clearer to see it on that desk that's closest in the picture. But right next to the student there is that gooseneck stand with the web camera. And basically what they're doing is they're broadcasting, they're working on a physics experiment, and they're broadcasting what they're doing on the experiment to those remote students who are accessing through Zoom. So it allows them to work in groups with each other, still have a physical on-campus presence, be safe, and allow the remote students to still take part. That's a great point too, Kathleen. So yeah, BSU students have been getting COVID tested, weekly, bi-weekly since September. We've got various contact tracing initiatives in place. Students basically check themselves in when they go into buildings and classrooms. So that way, if they're identified as having COVID, you can trace back like who they've had interactions with. So lots of stuff in place. So these setups, basically the equipment for these setups in these classrooms were put together by our media services department. They identified the video equipment, they identified the microphone equipment that we had in the classrooms. But they also worked on building what we're calling permanent HyFlex classrooms, much more expensive setups. We've got 6 of these HyFlex classrooms on campus, permanent HyFlex classrooms. And basically what we have in those classrooms are expensive pan tilt zoom cameras, video cameras that are embedded in the ceilings. We've got multiple video displays in the classrooms. We've got embedded ceiling microphones and other technology. So it gives a much better experience for those professors who are teaching HyFlex. So HyFlex has continued this semester, and as I'll talk about a little bit later, probably is going to be a reality for us going forward, just because of the flexibility of allowing students to take part in the physical classroom or remotely. All right, Tim. So Tim, I'm thinking maybe I'll share my screen for a moment, just so we can do another survey polling question here, because we're in a moment, Tim's going to talk about some of the opportunities. Oh shoot, yeah, we only got a few questions left. You know what, maybe we'll skip this. Maybe we'll skip the polling question, because yeah, we're running out of time here. Tim, why don't you talk about some of the opportunities that we did have?
Okay. All right. So these are just, so basically, you know, the pandemic kind of, I guess, showed us a couple of places where we just weren't ready to have every class online all of a sudden. So these are basically some of the softwares that we've adopted over the past year or so. So I'll just go through a couple of them here. So Labster, as you just saw a physics class, Labster is a online lab simulation tool. And I've got a screenshot of it in a second, but it basically allows the online class to simulate doing one of these science labs. They have all kinds of different labs in there. Then I've got an image in a second of Padlet. So Padlet is a kind of a bulletin board that you can use for discussions. And that one's bubbled up a lot. We've seen a lot of people start using that. So we've recently adopted that as well. VoiceThread is a tool where you can use, you can post a presentation and then have students respond to it with voice and text and other types of media. Respondus was a big one. That was one we were working on slightly before the pandemic. That allows for secure testing online. And it, you know, basically the student would download a browser that kind of locks their computer down. And it even has a remote monitoring tool. So a professor can kind of see the student as they're taking the test. Because obviously when you're taking a test online, it's very easy to open a book and you know, get a little help for yourself. Screencast-O-Matic is another one that we've used for a while, but didn't have a site license for prior to this. So that is a screen recording tool. So you could you know, do a short video for your class, just really easy to use. We've been using it for years, like I said, but now we're able to offer it to the whole campus. And we've offered a lot of training on that as well. We've also got LinkedIn Learning there, which you may have heard of. LinkedIn, obviously. LinkedIn Learning is their training tool. So it has, you know, tons of videos on just different types of software, you know, how-tos, whole courses of like how to use Excel or how to use some of our statistics tools and stuff like that. Obviously Zoom, we are all aware of. And then the last one here is Blackboard Ally. And Blackboard Ally was one, again, that we were working on prior to, we hadn't finalized anything, but as all of our students, you know, were thrust online, we kind of, you know, a lot of the students that were maybe having trouble and were able to seek help in person, all of a sudden didn't have that option. So Blackboard Ally in our Blackboard courses creates accessible formats for every document in a course. So just, you know, by us turning this on, all of a sudden, you know, a PDF would have a audio file, an HTML file to make it a little easier to read. There's Braille options. So let me pop into these screenshots real quick.
Actually, Tim, you know what? Because we need to allow at least 5 to 7 minutes for time, and we're just about out of time.
Oh.
I'm going to skip all the rest of the slides except for the looking ahead slide, and then we'll go straight to the Q&A.
Okay.
So just to kind of wrap up here, how is BSU going to change going forward? You know, from a staffing perspective, the administration has seen that many departments like ours have been very successful in working from home. I was kind of skeptical of telecommuting before the pandemic hit, and I'm a believer that it can be done. And so I think they're going to look at opportunities for telecommuting going forward, even once we're all back on campus. You know, can we still have telecommuting? We know there's going to be a lot of potentially new online courses added as faculty have realized the value of online teaching and learning. So we're expecting, you know, hey, maybe we're going to see more online programs get offered. We're going to be building more HyFlex classrooms. We're hoping to do lecture capture, which is what we're seeing in the picture here, which is basically a faculty member delivering a lecture to a class, recording it, and then posting it in their Blackboard course sites. So lots of stuff to come. I know we're out of time, and I want to make sure we take some questions from folks. So why don't we open it up to final questions?
Thank you so much, Eric and Tim. I appreciate that overview. I took diligent notes because I think there's some software that I don't take advantage of in the program that I run at the institution that I think I should investigate. So thank you.
Sure.
So we have a question from Richard Wixon. So Rich is the Chief Information and Technology Officer at Cape Cod Community College. And he asked you, how do you deal with students that needed specialized software? Do you use virtual desktops?
Yes. Yeah, we're using WVD, Windows Virtual Desktop, at Bridgewater State. And so, yeah, students can just log into the WVD portal and access all sorts of specialized software like SPSS that we've got installed there. They can access their OneDrive, network drives, all that good stuff. So great question.
And then we have a question from Bert about what do you see as the future of online learning as we ease out of the pandemic?
Yeah, so, and you know, Tim kind of talked a bit about this. Like, we've seen so many opportunities for us to get new applications and software as a result of this, because right away, I mean, the administration back in the spring said, what software do we need to make a better, more engaging student experience? And so that offered a number of opportunities for us. And I've spoke with like this the history program, for example, at Bridgewater State. I don't think it typically offers online courses. And one of the instructors there, she took part in our Online Teaching Institute, and her mind was just like, oh my gosh, like I can do online teaching. Like, this is incredible. And so I think we're going to see more faculty take that approach and be like, wow, yeah, I can do this. And maybe they want to start offering maybe a hybrid online course that's, you know, mostly face-to-face or half face-to-face, but then also some online components.
I think, yeah, one of the opportunities that we saw is we've been trying to get people to use the Grade Center and Blackboard, just the gradebook tool, for years. And, you know, we've gotten some foothold in that, but just by everybody all of a sudden having to use it and kind of seeing how easy it is, I think, you know, hopefully they keep using these tools after everything. So even if they're not teaching fully online, they're going to be using some of these online tools to enhance their classes.
You know, one thing I think is important to note is that Bridgewater, compared to maybe some other institutions, has been quite traditional in that we didn't have, or maybe we still don't have, a fully online bachelor's degree program. We have several now degree completion programs. So if someone comes to us with, you know, 60 college credits or an associate's degree, they can fully complete their degree online in certain majors. But from my position, I think this has been, you know, quite an opportunity for us as an institution to know that we are able to deliver our programs in a way that's effective. You know, our students are still learning quite a bit. So I'm thrilled to be able to have had this opportunity, if, you know, as horrible as it's been for the world and for all of us, but to let us know that we can do this. Like we can be an online institution and the beautiful brick and mortar institution that we are, and that why our students come to our, quaint New England, affordable, wonderful campus. Okay, another question here in the chat is from Rich Riker. What do you see as the longer term impact on being on campus learning versus remote?
I think one of the big things we're going to see is to go back to the high flex piece, is flexibility for students. Letting students be able to say, oh, geez, you know what, I'm not feeling well today, but I'm still going to be able to take part in class because I can drop in through the Zoom session while the rest of my classmates are in the physical classroom. I think we're going to be able to see a lot more of that. I think that's going to be a significant impact for us. I actually see, with our Blackboard usage, I think we're going to see more faculty who are like, okay, I used Blackboard during this pandemic period, and maybe I'm not going to use it as much going forward, but it's kind of handy being able to post my syllabus document, some handouts, and then not having to be like, okay, well, when a student loses, their printouts, now I've got to print stuff out again for them and hand that to them, So I think we're going to see more faculty use technology. I think there's going to be faculty who have seen how some of these tools are really engaging with students, and they're going to start to adopt these things going forward.
Yeah, I echo that, Eric, because, living in a geographically isolated area here on the Cape, I mean, that's why we spent a lot of money on this Cape Cod campus to reach students in this area. And, we did a lot of, shared video conferencing in courses up until the pandemic, but there's certainly opportunities for us to, let students, first of all, and faculty, stay home when you're sick. I think we've changed our mode of like, you drag yourself to meetings and classes and everything, no matter what, we're changing. That's stupid. We know that now. Okay, a couple questions more. So one is from Eldon. He said, what pedagogical software, or maybe what do you mean, what is missing that we'd like to see available?
I can tell you just from, this semester a few times has come up is if you folks have ever used Kahoot before. Kahoot is it's a fun sort of quiz gaming application. And we've had so many faculty ask us about, oh, can we get the premium version of Kahoot? I looked into the pricing, and it's a little pricey, but I think that's something that we definitely would like to look at. And I think also from a pedagogical perspective is that for as much as faculty have appreciated having Blackboard, we realize that, we need to take a look at other solutions that are out there. Even Blackboard has a brand new version of their software that they're working on right now. So we need to start looking at some of these other learning management systems and say, is this a better fit for us and where we've positioned ourselves going forward?
Our colleague Robin points out here in the chat very astutely that we are almost able to offer fully online programs as more and more faculty are getting comfortable with this great technology. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, we're right at 9 o'clock, which is a miracle. We want to be mindful of everyone's time, and big thanks, Eric LePage, Tim Wenson from Bridgewater State University. Obviously, I'm an alum. I'm one of those kind of came and never left kind of people too. I'm so proud of our institution in respects to its technology, but for so many other reasons too, and especially just the great people that work really hard to make sure that our students are able to learn in a way that works for them and accommodates any needs that they have. And I know that that's mostly responsible to the great work that you do with our faculty. So thank you so much.
Thank you
for being here today and taking the time to prepare this presentation. Thanks to all of you that have attended. Bert, is there any closing remarks that you'd like to offer to our folks here today?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to thank Eric and Tim. It was a great presentation. I learned an awful lot, and looking forward to seeing what you guys do going forward. And so thank you, Jen, for moderating today. Always a pleasure to have you in the moderator seat. Thanks to Dale. Thanks to Open Cape. And just a reminder, in 2 weeks, we have our coffee Q&A That's going to be with Heather Doyle from Cape Cod Ocean Community, and she's going to be talking about some of the technology that you're using for shark detection, an issue that we have here on the Cape. On the 17th is our infrastructure committee meeting. It's at 9 a.m. That's free and open to everyone who would like to attend. And our first Friday for April, I can't believe it's going to be April already. We have Vineyard Wind, and they're going to be speaking about their offshore wind project that's happening and some of the ramifications of that. So with that, thank you, everybody. We'll look forward to seeing you at the next event. Enjoy your day.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Eric and Tim. Thanks so much.
Have a good
Good.
weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Great to see everyone.